Hey everybody, welcome to the Brave Maker online film fest experience. My name is Tony Gapastone and I'm with my co-host today.
Hello, hello. So good to be back, Tony. Been another
Chris-
amazing.
Christina Jackson and I are hosting a short film today called Book Clubbing. And we want you to know, as we've been doing for the past couple broadcasts, that we want to still recognize that the challenges going on in our cities and our country right now are still heavy on our hearts. And yesterday was probably one of the most significant days, and I don't use this phrase a lot, in my life, at a protest here in Redwood City where our headquarters are. I felt, for probably one of the very first times in my life, more united as an American person than I can ever remember in my 40 plus years of life. Just recognizing that all over the country, there were people protesting for justice and speaking out on behalf of Black lives was really powerful. But we also recognize that there are lots of feelings. So if you're scrolling today and you come upon this, we just want you to know that we see you, we hear you. We are with you, Brave Maker. That has been our mission from the beginning. And we started 2 years ago, is to elevate brave stories for justice, diversity, and inclusion. So we need the arts. The arts do things in our hearts. The arts elevate us and awaken us to things that we might not have seen if it weren't for the way that the arts can penetrate our hearts and minds. So just wanted to start by saying that. Christine, do you have any comments before we start our broadcast today?
Absolutely. A lot of really beautiful things are coming out of a really terrible tragedy. We are uniting in ways that we haven't before, especially with different mediums such as this and the arts. So that's really beautiful. And just our hearts are with the family and keep on pursuing justice. That's what I say. Keep putting your energy towards that and love one another. Yeah.
Awesome. And we can't do our work without our partners. So today we are saying thank you to one of my favorite local restaurants, local business, Casa Indian. If you are in Redwood City or you're in San Francisco, they're in the Castro. They have amazing food, great naan and curry dishes. They're also doing a class on Saturday, June 5th, I believe it is, June 6th. I will put the information in the notes if you would like to learn how to make their, I guess, Bay Area famous chai. They're going to do a class for you, and all of the proceeds are going to help those who are experiencing challenges to put food on their table during COVID-19, because don't forget, we are in the middle of a worldwide pandemic as well. So Casa Indian, huge shout out to owner Anamika. And interesting enough, today is all about women empowerment. So we are going to be turning the show over to amazing creative women. And the first woman we'd like to invite to the broadcast is Syra McCarthy. So welcome, Syra.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Sarah.
So Syra is a co-writer and director of the film Book Clubbing. You're going to meet the rest of the cast and crew who helped make this short. But I'm going to start and I'm going to back off, and because we can't have more than 6 people on at a time. So I'm the odd one out here. But Syra, before I have you do a little intro to the film, I definitely wanted to shout out. I text your brother and sister-in-law yesterday. We are mutually connected to Elizabeth Mitchell and Sean McCarthy of Guerrilla Wanderers, who have been great partners with Brave Maker since we started. Even before, I met Sean and Elizabeth in Sundance, my very first year in 2013, which is pretty cool. But Elizabeth is fighting cancer and has been for quite some time. And so to Elizabeth, we say we are with you. Our hearts and our prayers go out to you and to Sean as you wrestle through this cancer. We know that this is the hardest time of your life, and we see you and we're for you. Brave Maker is here for you. So just sending love to you all. And Syra is the sister of Sean, sister-in-law of Elizabeth. So with that, Syra, would you give us a little, would you give us a little intro to Book Clubbing and how it all came to be? And then I'm going to turn it over to Christina, and you can introduce your cast and crew.
Yeah, sure. Book Clubbing came about pretty quickly. I feel that, a lot of other films and projects that I think I've done and a lot of people do are things that they think about for a while, and you know, they dream about it, and there's many drafts of it, and you know, they get feedback, and it's a long process, filmmaking. But this specific film came about during a 48-hour film festival. I don't know, Christina, are you familiar with the 48-hour film festival?
No, that's the first I'm hearing about it.
So it was my first year doing one, but basically there's this company called the 48-Hour Film Project, and it's worldwide in like 140 different cities. And basically you have 48 hours to complete a film, and you can form your team ahead of time, like your whole crew, and have your equipment and your locations locked. But you go to this place and you pull basically out of a hat a genre, a line of dialogue. Yeah, there you go. A character and a prop, and you have to use that within all the teams have to use that, but within different genres. So then from that point, you have 48 hours to write, shoot, and edit, and turn around like a fully polished film. Wow. From Friday to Sunday. So it kind of came about very quickly, and we wrote it overnight. And yeah, there wasn't a lot of time to revise or do any of that. So all of those things that I think we were so used to were kind of thrown out the window. And we wanted to basically kind of test out. We had a crew of people. It was all 16 women, all female cast and crew, that we wanted to, you know, get together and make something, because we all knew that everybody had the talent to bring their piece of the puzzle to this, to create something. We didn't know what it was going to be, but and then it turned out to be this.
Wow. Speaking of the crew, Syra, can you introduce us to the crew here? Who do we have joining us?
Yes, we have, this is our entire cast, producers, writers, all of the above. We have Joanna, Becky, Bailey, and Kai. And we had all kind of gotten together for drinks. We're all Bay Area actors, so we go out for the same roles, and you know, we had seen each other around so many times and had in passing, but finally we're like, okay, let's build a community together. And we got really excited about it, wanted to start a web series, but decided that this was kind of our first test experiment. We're like, well, let's see how we work together under like high pressure.
Okay, wow.
And yeah, and it bonded us for life.
Okay, so y'all kind of knew each other before. Let's start with Joanna. How did you get into acting, and then we kind of learned how you ended up in book clubbing, but how were you introduced into the world of short films?
So my background has nothing to do with theater or the arts or anything. I went to school for forensic anthropology, and I was a crime scene investigator. And so my life has been like scientific lab field work, and I always knew that I felt very bound and not expressive at all. And I ended up moving to San Francisco, went to my first sketch fest, where I saw all of my favorite comedic performers, and something went off, and I felt like, I don't want to just appreciate this. I want to be a part of it for other people. I want to make things. And so I started taking an acting class, and had to learn how to, you know, walk and talk like a real human in front of people. And then I added chewing gum to that and some other things on, and here we are.
That's amazing. I love that. So I myself just jumped in last year, and I have a background in business and finance. So I completely understand feeling that urge to be more creative and then kind of like stumbling into it. So that's amazing. Becky, let's find out how you got into it.
Oh, so I've been acting forever. Like
Okay.
From the moment I could, I was in school plays, and I didn't start doing it professionally on camera until 2005 or so, but I've been trying to act steadily since then, and I have done a lot of independent theater where we would do satirical stage adaptations of movies and things like that, and um, and so I took a break from on-camera things for a while when I was focusing on theater, and pretty much like as soon as I got back into it, Jen and I were in a bunch of plays together, and she invited me to a happy hour with the rest of the group, and it just was like really perfect timing that as soon as they came back into it, I was like welcomed by this group, and we did like this has been like my favorite project. Like I'm so proud of how it turned out, and it was like so much fun. The 48 hours, it's supposed to be so stressful, but I just had a wonderful time.
You can feel the energy. I definitely have to say that you guys collectively together, you could feel you guys as an ensemble. It's very lovely, you know, watching you guys perform together. You felt very comfortable, like you had been to a couple of happy hours together. So that was beautiful, you know, and it made you want to be part of the book club. Bailey, let's find out you jumped into film.
Well, like Becky, I started acting when I was really little, mostly just on stage. I constantly needed attention from my parents and my sister. So my parents were like, oh, go do it on the stage. And then I got my BA in theater, and then like didn't do any stage theater. Instead, I jumped straight into on-camera work. I came back to San Francisco and jumped into the community. And what I really love about the San Francisco Bay Area community is that it's so small, but it's really supportive. Like once you kind of get into the group, you show up at a couple auditions, you start to meet people, and everyone's just, you know, wishes you well. And you know, when you'll read the breakdown for a commercial or a project, and you're already like, oh, I know exactly who's going to book this, and I'm so excited for them. And with this project in particular, I had done the 40-hour film project in San Francisco 4 other times. And I'd been the producer, I'd been an actor, I'd been a writer. And it's all about, as you said, Christina, like the group dynamics. And after a couple of our happy hours, I was like, hey man, what if instead of all auditioning for the same role every time, we wrote something that could showcase all of us? And we were anticipating, you know, fireworks, not from like clashing personalities, but just from lack of sleep. And it was the most positive filmmaking experience. Like we finished, like, I don't know, it was like a 12 or 14-hour shoot day, and we were all still laughing together.
You feel that, you could feel that energy in the film. Let's jump over to Kai, and let's find out, how did you get into film?
Hi, I'm Kai. I like how I've had this whole time to think about how I've gotten into film, and I have come up with basically nothing. So yeah, I'm coming from an Asian background. You would think that, you know, my whole family would fight against this artistic part of me, but actually I come from a whole family of musicians, dancers, and models back in China. And when they came to America, it was all about, you know, be a doctor, be a lawyer, just to be safe, just to make money, just so that you could be stable. And I went that route for a really long time, but I guess something about art and performance was always in my blood. And after I took my first acting class about 7 years ago, I was hooked. I quickly learned that the San Francisco acting community was definitely the best place to start off acting, because it was such, like Bailey said, a supportive, nurturing community where I never really felt like I was competing with any of you, even though we were going out for the exact same roles all the time. I would see you guys in auditions every day. But I always was so happy when Bailey or Syra booked something, and, you know, it was always fun to see each other in the audition room.
Very cool.
That's about me.
That's Acting is very competitive, but I have noticed that it is very, I want to say, like a warm, welcoming environment here in the Bay Area. That's why I say if you're a new actor, writer, producer, just getting into the business, I want to say it's a little bit gentle here, a lot of hand holding, which I definitely appreciate. So let's talk about book clubbing. It was so much fun to watch. How did you settle on the title? Was that always the idea? And I love the play on words for that as well. With no spoilers, but you know, you got to watch it to find out the play. But let's talk about the title, book clubbing. How did you reach this title?
I think that's kind of like what inspired the concept.
Mm-hmm.
The idea, you know, Bailey kept bringing. We kept having all these different ideas. Like, well, what if it's a group of girls doing this, 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 and this? And we kept bringing it back to like, okay, what if it's a book club? And then what if it's just more than a book club? And then Joanna was like, there has to be a twist. Somebody has to die. And then I was like, there has to be like a clubbing scene, but like a dance club. And Joanna's like, oh, or they could die with like a club. I don't know. And then we were like, book clubbing. And then, yeah. So it kind of like unraveled the concept through the title itself.
That is very cool. So let's back up a little bit. So there's this 48-hour competition. You're in, you assemble your crew, you guys are at happy hour, and you just start throwing out ideas. Like John said, someone's got to die and someone's got to go clubbing. And so that's really how the story came together for book clubbing.
Yeah.
Well, but we weren't even able to like talk about it beforehand though, Christina. Like it wasn't until we got all of the elements, like the character and the line and the prop, and then we sat down, and they can be constraints, but they can also be inspiring. And that's I feel, after Kai brought a big bag of clothes and we were really excited trying on all these different looks, you know, it was like a needed break in our creative process. And then I feel like, I don't know, like our minds melded, and then this thing came out the other side, is how it feels for me.
I think there was about 2 hours of ideas that we were just throwing shit against the wall, and everyone's like, you know, and then we all were just exhausted, and then we're like, all right, let's eat, let's change rooms, and then we like shifted locations, and then it started a couple hours in. That idea started, and then it ended up like harmonious thing.
Yeah, a bunch of ideas kind of melded together because it was like, we know we wanted a twist, and then we latched on to little ideas from everybody's input and like shoved them together, and it just worked.
Okay, Syra, I want to talk about the twist without giving away the ending. How could we do that? Barry, it was a bold move. Let's get into it.
Oh, I also want to say for any viewers and for you, Christina, we'll say what our constraints were. Because I think it can kind of make sense out of context, but maybe not fully. The genre that we pulled was comedy. Our character was a voiceover artist named either Luke or Linda Turlington.
Okay.
Our line of dialogue was, she's not in charge anymore. And then our prop was a golf ball. Oh yeah.
I love it, yeah, because I've seen it a couple times, so now I see how that all came together. That is so incredibly cool. It seems like almost like a charades game, you know, where you just like have all these random things come together, and then you got to make it work. Only have 48 hours, you know, to pull this story together. And how did the story come together? Who actually sat down and cranked it out and made sense of everything and like finalized that script for you guys to bang this out?
Well, I feel like after we had this big brainstorming session, I mean, which lent itself really well to the structure of the film, right? Because there's all these different scenes and each character kind of has an opportunity to have an idea. After we kind of got all the ideas in place, it was like, I don't know, 1:30 in the morning. And so Kai came over to my house and we sat down, and I always call it like the barf draft, like just get it out of your fingers, it can be really bad, but it's so much easier to work from something on the page than it is from nothing. And we worked on it until like 4, I want to say, and brought it to the, what was exciting about that for me was we sent it out to the group, and the next morning we sat down and we weren't precious with it. It was like, ladies, if there's a line in there and you have a better idea, please do it. And I think that kind of openness and that willing to collaborate isn't always part of a film, but when it is, it's such a joy to be a part of.
I love what you said, Bailey, about not being precious with it. So I'm in a screenwriting class now, and I know what it's like to finally have like a first draft, and then it's like you want to take your time, but not in 48 hours. Like you got to edit that, you know, like finalize that draft and perform it. So that's really amazing, and you guys really did that. So incredible. So what was the most challenging part of staying within the guidelines for the, you know, for this 48-hour competition?
You'd think that like the most challenging part, I mean, would be all of it, and being able to shoot all of the stuff and write it and get everybody on the same page and like working together and not wanting to rip each other's heads off. That oddly all just like went really smoothly. I think our crew was so great and just like we were all on this weird same wavelength of anticipating each other's needs, even though a lot of us had never worked together before. Someone was always one step ahead. So for some reason, everything just like kept falling into place throughout. I think the first 80% of it, for me, I would say the most challenging part was probably the post of it, the editing and like the cramming of like the last moments, because you had to physically hand it in. So we had to put these like credits on and finalize, color it, export, and then like speed over to this Starbucks in the Richmond by a certain time or you were disqualified.
Oh, wow. Wow, and you guys got that done. You guys all worked really well together. I love that it was an all-female casting crew. How many of you guys had actually been on set or got to be part of a project that was all-female before? Had any of you know? Wow, what an amazing experience. So how did that come together, Syra? Was that something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I think it was, you know, it was inspired originally by when we had all had drinks together and we were like, well, let's create something and it can be an all-female cast. And then it kind of grew out from there, and it was like, well, what about an all-female crew? And we talked about the Bechdel test, which I don't know if I'd never heard of it until we had even talked about it here. But Bailey, what's the definition of the Bechdel test?
The Bechdel test is when you have 2 or more women in a scene together talking about anything other than men. And it's crazy how many films, TV shows, just media out there can't even pass this really basic test. Wow. We're proud that in our film, we don't even mention the existence of men. It wasn't something we set out to do, but by the end, it wasn't even planned. We were like, oh, we don't even talk about it.
And something else with the working with all of these females, and
I think it was so surprising how easy that was.
Robert Tino is joining us. He is saying Bay Area talent, female power work. That's amazing.
Woo! Is that Robert Tino?
48. Hilarious. Great job, book clubbers. You guys, actually, I want to say, you really made it seem like book clubbing was a thing to do. I think the film would inspire people to do that, because you all look like you were having so much fun shooting this film. Was it a lot of fun? It was a lot of pressure. But you guys went to, we were all in front of the camera. You made it look easy. So was it easy?
With all women in the room, I felt like there were no egos. I felt like what Syra was saying about everybody just anticipating each other's needs. I felt like there was a great deal of empathy and intuition in the room. And what you asked about the, all the constraints of the rules, how it affected us, I feel like they were gifts because we had everybody, it prompted ideas, and like everybody was on the same page of what we had to get done and by what time. And so everything, like the goals were so clear and everybody was on the same page. And so I feel like all those constraints were just gifts that helped us all work together really well.
What a beautiful way to put it. Can we go each one by one? What was the most beautiful part of this project for you? Let's start with Becky.
The most beautiful part of this project, I think, was working together and just being so supportive and having so much fun with it. And I wouldn't say that it wasn't like, there was a reasonable amount of pressure, I think, but it was so positive, and we all, not just in this project, but in general, we all want each other to do so well. And the working with an all-female cast or all-female crew was like, it was sad how novel it was, and how many times any of us had been like, an all-male crew, and it was no big deal. And so having that was like, really special. So I think that was the most beautiful part.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it to Bailey. What was the most beautiful part of this project for you?
Well, my serious answer would have to be just how often I feel like in society women are told to compare themselves to each other, and how especially in acting, it's like, oh, break a leg. No, like, seriously, I hope you break a leg. And instead, as like our group, we all reached out to each other and we thought, like, how can we lift ourselves up, and not only us, but how can we try to lift other women in the Bay Area and get their stories heard, and how can we try to lift each other up? And then to go from a happy hour and then like a month and a half later have a finished project that we're all really proud of is super rare, that compressed timeline. And then my not as serious answer would have to be the dance scene. Syra twerking on the wall. I don't want to give anything away, but like every now and then I still get flashbacks to that dance move, and it's still
That was
it's
one
so
of my
great.
favorite scenes for sure. One of my favorites. Beautiful. All right, Joanna, what was your the most beautiful part of shooting this project for you?
Oh man, I think there was a moment where I just looked around and I feel like everybody contributed such amazing ideas, and I was almost looking at it from above a little bit, and just because I've been seeing all these women before in the audition room or working with them on other projects, and this was the first time having us all together and just like seeing how brilliant everybody was being, and how special I felt to be among like such talented women. Just I was like, I felt like I've made it. Like, this is it. Just to have all of us together in one place creating something cool was awesome.
That's amazing. I love that. Syra, what was the most beautiful part of shooting this wild 48-hour project? I mean, that if you haven't ever like been in the process of coming up with the idea and writing a script and casting and doing, like, it's a long process. You guys cranked it out. It's wild. So what was your part of this project?
I want to say my favorite part was probably the unification of the entire crew itself. I feel like on a lot of shoots, I think that we do a lot of commercial shoots here in the Bay Area. And a lot of times, like, the talent and crew itself, like, operate on two different wavelengths, kind of, and they kind of work in their own worlds. and having all of these girls together, like I remember Joanna being like, oh my God, like I can't believe like Carrie, the who is our art department, would like do one thing in the background and just transform the entire composition of a frame with her talents, and then be like, wow, look at this fucking G&E team. Sorry, can I swear? Look at this G&E team. Like their lighting is just so on point. The crew was just the cast was fangirling out about the entire crew, being like, these women are so amazing, and look at how she does this, and look how she does that. And then we transferred locations once, and I drove the DP and I think one of our G&E girls, and they were like, we've never worked with such like a talented crew of actors and all of you together. It's like blowing our minds. We like are so grateful to be able to like work with you. So it was really cool to have this uplifting of people. We were all, it felt really good.
It definitely felt like a girl power film to watch, and a concentration of talent, truly. Everyone shined so bright. One of my favorite scenes was the acapella that you guys did for Back to Your Mad Beating. Can we talk about that scene? Who wants to jump in here and tell me about that scene? How did that come together? It was so well done, so entertaining. All right, we can start with you. Yeah, tell me, how did
I'm trying to think about how that came about.
I remember.
Okay, Becky.
Syra wanted to do a shot with a classic musical framing, where it was like Bohemian Rhapsody and like Sound of Music, and we wanted to. That's what Syra was thinking.
That's very genius. So you started from an idea, like a visual idea, how you wanted the scene to look, and then you built it like backwards from there.
Yeah, that's kind of how my brain works. I don't know if that's exactly what happened for that scene, but when I think of things, I'm like, it has like stylized like this. This is what I see in terms of concept and style. Okay. But
I remember.
Yeah, Bailey,
it was that we knew we needed a voiceover person that Linda had to provide voiceover, and that we were like, how can we get everybody else involved in a scene that's about voiceover that feels really focused on one person? And so then the thing became, okay, well, what if everybody else was just doing the soundscape? And then we played to our strengths, Joanna was like, I can do a really creepy kid laugh, and I apparently can do a seagull, and the roles found themselves.
Oh my goodness, that was one of my absolute favorite scenes. It was so well done.
I actually remember being in the room with Bailey late at night, and we were doing our vomit draft, and we were trying to figure out how to get the voiceover acting in, and all of us in at the same time. And we kind of came up with a rough draft of what was the final result. And when we were writing it, we were like, this sounds dumb. No one's going to go for this. They're all going to say, like, the rest of the actors are just going to be like, this is going to be so dumb. But when we brought it to everyone, when you all said, oh my God, this sounds hilarious. And that's when we knew that it had to stay.
Yeah, Jessica Musgraves is saying, I was laughing so hard at that scene. I had to rewatch that scene. It was so hilarious. So well done. All the nuances with what you guys were able to put together for that scene. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, Syra, let's jump back. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, we have some very funny behind the scenes footage of us recording the sounds for that scene.
Oh, could there be like a blooper reel? I'm sure that
I don't think we've ever posted that publicly anywhere, but no.
It will see the light of day sometime soon.
I hope so. Yeah, just show of hands. How many of you guys have actually done voiceover work, or that's like part of your jam? Like 1, 2, 3. So, oh my goodness, mostly everybody. Okay, very cool, very cool.
But not like that.
Not like well, I haven't seen anything like that before. That was very unique. Who did the horse?
Oh, that was me.
That was okay. Wonderful. So just reiterate, what were the constraints again? You had to have a golf ball. You had to do a voiceover. What else had to be included in this 48-hour turnaround short film?
The genre of comedy. Though we took a little bit of a dark comedy route, still comedy. And then a line of dialogue, she's not in charge anymore.
Yep, and that was Becky. I remember that line. I thought it's so good. Okay.
Yeah, and then the prop of the golf ball, and then a character of the voiceover artist. And as the character can be like anyone that's mentioned in the film, we didn't have to do like a voiceover specifically, but we lent into it.
Okay, so for people who haven't seen it, and I'm going to go back and rewatch it, what other little details could we look out for? Because I know you guys paid an incredible amount of attention to detail, for every scene. So what little...
Those amazing book covers that someone made.
Book covers.
I don't remember who made those, but those books that were specifically made for us.
Wasn't that Carrie?
That was awesome.
No, it was Carrie's friend. I believe her name's Annie Pay.
Those are great.
She's great.
There's a fun little kind of Where's Waldo moment in every scene that Joanna's character is in. She's doing something different with the golf ball. And I really appreciated that detail.
That's really cool. Okay, I'm going to go back and look for that. And how did you achieve the blood on the golf ball? What was the secret for that?
Corn syrup.
What was it?
Someone tried drawing on it with a Sharpie at first.
Yeah, I think we tried a couple different things.
We tried a couple things. It was too pink for a while.
Yeah, it was still too pink. We had to change it a lot in post and color it. Because it was like bright pink on camera. But it was some corn syrup and dye and a couple other things from our kitchen.
Hand staining things.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that Carrie Shoemaker magically made into blood.
I think for a while it wasn't even a real golf ball. I think it was like a lip balm or something because we couldn't get a golf ball in time.
POS ball or something?
It was like a faux golf ball that you could craft
it was
because it had a flat bottom.
Difficult to find.
Oh my gosh, that would have been funny if Joanna at the end, you had the golf ball and then you cracked it open and like put lip gloss on.
Oh, that's so dark. I guess we have to make a sequel later.
Yeah, I'm in.
No.
Yeah, I am in.
All right, I think that's I don't know, is that the wrap up? We got a couple more minutes here, so definitely before we get out of here, I just want to hear everyone give your best advice for people out there that want to jump into filmmaking, that are curious about the 48 Hours film. Let's start with Syra. What's your advice for all those aspiring filmmakers and actors out there?
Yeah, I mean, you can check out the 48-Hour Film Project online, and you can see like when they're coming to your city and the directions to gather a team and create. You don't need much. You can do it with your phone. Yeah, I'd say start with your phone. If it doesn't matter if you don't have equipment. Watch things. Yeah, just like practice, mess up, learn. That's kind of how I did it. I also want to just make a quick announcement that from this experience that we had with all of these women and from us being on so many different commercial shoots here in the Bay Area with production companies that we love, but are also mostly white, male-dominated crews on production side. I mean, on the front end, there's a lot of diversity because there has to be, but on the back end, there isn't that much. that we are basically curating a website that is also acts as a directory for different women in the Bay Area that work on the back end of film crews with like portfolios, different departments, so that we're going to send out to different production companies so they can diversify their crews moving forward. And we're trying to contribute in that way. So we're still like curating people. So if anybody wants to reach out and send us their work and chat, super open.
Amazing. So how can people reach you? Let's plug that right now. How do we reach Syra?
Oh, sure. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is Syra, Syra, Nara, Nara. Or my email is my last name, McCarthy.syra@gmail.com. Oh, look, there it is. That was fast. I guess we
Perfect.
good.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
Joanna, what's your best advice for jumping into film?
Just jump in. From that experience in particular, I learned that one of the most important things is finding the people that you want to work with. So if you run into somebody and your minds meld and ideas start coming, latch on and really inspire each other to work. And I have to, there's a pun involved. There's a thing that I've been wanting to say. So this film shows that so I love a good twist, and the film, I feel like, tests perceptions of an audience and how they feel about a group of upper middle class, white and Asian ladies. And so it's reminding everybody, it's our responsibility to read into everything we see and hear. And this film shows that you can't judge a book by its cover.
Very good. Very good. A couple different words. Very nice, Joanna. Okay, Kai, what's your advice here?
Be yourself. A lot of Hollywood executives, producers, or the people in the industry always say, you might think that you have to be this kind of mold. You have to fit into this blonde hair, really thin kind of mold. But there are so many of those people already and not enough of you. So make sure that when you jump into this industry, to hold on to pieces of you, what makes you special. That's what makes you shine. That's what makes you interesting. And that's what's going to make any project you jump into more interesting and more beautiful.
I love that advice. Authenticity. Wow. All right, Becky.
That was great. Hi. You guys, wow. So I would say know your comfort zone and try to push your comfort zone while knowing what your boundaries are, because there's a lot of stuff going on that
Know your lane, right?
number one. So like if you want to break into this, like you don't need to do this, make you feel uncomfortable. After there's a big difference between pushing boundaries and being in your comfort zone. A lot of this is really scary and like putting yourself out there, and so I would recommend for someone who wants to be an actor from me, I don't know, just do as much as you can, and be if you want to do something, if you want to make a project, try to make it yourself and be open to things.
All right, that's good. Very good
Life
advice.
is hard.
All right, Bailey. What advice do you have for us?
Well, I mean, to jump onto what a lot of you ladies are saying, find people you want to work with, find people you want to collaborate with, people you want to learn from, and bring them in closer. Say, what is it that we can create? What is it that we can do? And give yourself space. The first few things you do, they're not going to be great. But that's how you're going to learn. You're going to have a shoot where you're like, I'm going to bang this out all in one day. And then you're like, wow, that's why I can't do an 18-hour shoot. There's just little lessons along the way. And when you have other people around you that are flexible and inspiring and collaborative and say yes, you can't go wrong.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the cast and crew that have joined us for book clubbing. If you want to check out this short film, it is hilarious. A very nice escape from everything that's going on right now. You can check it out over on Vimeo. If you want to check out more information about our free movies, check us out over at bravemaker.com/buzz. Does anyone want to say anything before? Oh, and Tony has joined us again. Yeah. Syra, any last comments here?
I just want to thank you guys for doing this and giving us a platform. And it's been lovely talking with you. Yeah. Oh, and to look out for this directory that's going to be having a soft launch. I'm working on it. But I'm also more inspired even now to just like even diversify what we're putting out there and just like really learning about people and taking a deep dive in our community. And so it's going to be titled Soft Hold Collective.
Great. Yeah, well, let us know how Bravemaker can partner with you. We would love to become a partner in this, however we can, elevate the work that you're doing or funnel people to you. I think this would be a great synergy with what you're doing and what we're trying to be about. Really, thank you. Thank you all to the ladies who are in the green room. I just wanted to do a quick outro here. The link for the film went out Monday. It's a password protected link. So if you did not get that and you're like, I want to see it, you just go to our website and sign up for bravemaker.com/buzz. We will send it out again on Monday. And if you really are like, I need to see it now, just email me personally and I will share it with you so that you can watch it and then go back and rewatch all of them, talk about how cool it was to make it. So Syra, thank you to Joanna and Bailey and Kai and Becky who are backstage. Thank you so much for everything. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. So if you want to go to our website and support any of the work that we're doing, we have 3 fiscal sponsored projects, 2 by women and 1 by a Black gay man who's doing a project on racism in Mississippi. We would love to support these filmmakers. Go to our website, bravemaker.com, for more information. All right, thanks so much. See y'all. Brave stories change the world. You are the story.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.